Women in My Life. My name is Brennan, and joining me tonight is Nicole.
Hi.
And tonight we're doing Matilda the Musical, the new 2020 Matilda the Musical, because the original Matilda film is not a musical. Did I say 2020? I meant 2022. Yeah, 2022 Matilda the Musical. There's their original film in 1996, and then it's also based off of a book by Roald Dahl. And this was your choice for January, Nicole. Why did you select this?
Well, I picked this because I like musicals for the most part. I wanted to pick something newer, and I love Matilda. That is one of my favorite movies.
The original Matilda?
The original, yes. So I thought it would be interesting to see how they made this a musical, because I would say the original showed musical potential. So that was
you wanted to see
interesting.
Matilda the Musical, but you didn't want to see the new Jumanjis, even though you love the original Jumanji.
Yeah, that's not the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Matilda lives with her brother and parents who are unappreciative of her. She utilizes her telekinetic abilities to settle the score after her principal brutally tortures her with the help of her kind-hearted teacher. There's no brother in this one, is there?
No. Are you reading the right one?
Yeah, this is the description on Google for this current one. Well, Google, you don't have the right Matilda on here, because there's a brother in
Definitely
the 1996
because
one.
that was one of the biggest things that I mentioned, was that there was not a brother in the musical.
Yeah, so I had never seen Matilda growing up, so I actually saw this first, and then right after this I was like, all right, well I should probably see the original now, so I at least know what's going on. So I watched the original right after this one, which is on HBO Max, so if you want to compare them, Matilda the Musical, the one we're reviewing today, on Netflix, and the original Matilda is on HBO Max. But yeah, I had never seen it. Now I've seen them both, and we are going to spoil probably both of them, but we're going to mainly be talking about the new one. So that's where you find it. Spoilers now. And Matilda, we all know the story of Matilda, right? She's the girl that nobody likes in her family. They're very Dursley-ish. If you're a Harry Potter person, they don't care for her, and she's going to this school, and it's run by Miss Trunchbull, who is like a former Olympic athlete, and she runs a very tight ship, and she's very stern, and she has over-the-top powers, like she hurls kids over walls. And Matilda, to combat this in this movie, she has like a storytelling power, where she tells a story about these two carnival people. And then she also has like a telekinetic ability that she gathers through the movie. She's got a teacher, Miss Honey. She's nice. She's not like Mrs. Trunchbull. And we learn about these characters and the little world that they populate. And we follow Matilda navigate these challenging adult characters. So, Nicole, what did you think of Matilda the Musical?
Okay, well, I didn't set expectations, because I didn't know if I would like it. Generally, when I like a movie, and when you say Jumanji, that fits into this category, like, I don't want to ruin that by watching some new adaptation that's probably going to ruin it. Mm-hmm. So I was a little apprehensive. But I liked the beginning, although for some reason it was giving me Annie vibes. I felt like they were trying to bring her in. It felt like an orphan type of deal. Like, oh, all these kids are loved, but this one's an orphan. But I'm like, wait, that's not the story.
Yeah, it felt orphany off the top, but like, in my head, Matilda, I always conflate with orphan stuff, because I think of the Madeline, that girl with the blue frock. Yeah, I'm always like,
it's all the crossover.
Yeah, I was like, Matilda, the girl with the blue, and you're like, no, that's Madeline. Every time.
Yeah. The one-worded female name titles.
Both little girls.
And I really think that they missed the mark by not including the brother, because the whole point of it is that her family loves the brother. He's like the golden child, and they don't like her. And I mean, it comes across obviously that they don't care for her in the new one. Keeps calling her son. The dad says that, but I feel like they missed that by not having the brother in it. That's the whole point. So, that already was I'll say a point ticked off for that. There's a lot of iconic scenes in the original Matilda when I think back, and I didn't watch it with you. So, last I saw it was a couple years ago, but I'm envisioning in my head many, I'll say famous, I don't know, scenes that stick with you from the movie. And, while they're adapted, which is okay, they missed some, which made it less like true to the story. They had the scene with Bruce eating the cake, and instead of actually making it like the cake from the first one, they made this enormous 4-tiered cake. Like, that's not realistic. More than the chocolate cake.
It was a lot like the two Willy Wonka movies, like the original one. Like, everything looks very quaint, and like everything looks very like
and then the Johnny
tangible.
Depp one just was like,
and then this is the Tim Burton version where there's insane, over the top things.
Yeah, some of the stuff was really over the top. They ran the storyline through of how Miss Honey is connected to the Miss Trunchbull and the house and all that stuff. I'm just kind of skipping around, but all this is to say they used, some really good parts in it, but I don't think they used them to their potential of what they should have been. One of the scenes that sticks out to me that they missed from the original was the whole scene where she's starting to adapt to her powers, and she's got all of the little knickknacks around her house dancing around to that do 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 do. I forget what the name of that song is.
That's
and
they play that song throughout the movie. It's not that one. It's the away, dude.
No. It's little bitty pretty one. Come on and walk with me.
I must be remembering a different part. Hey, whatever.
Yeah. But she's using her finger and making all the dishes and the forks and everything move around, and like that is so fun. When I was a child, I'm like, wow, that's really fun. And that I didn't see that in this new musical at all, and that was a shame.
Not enough.
They
enough
really made
dancing.
this seem concentration campy, really weird. The school was not like that in the original one. I guess it was just supposed to be more over the top.
It looks more like a boarding school in this one. It looks like somewhere you'd be like over, like you'd stay.
But the kids were like in jail. They they were monitored on the screens and forced to stop and do a pledge to Miss Trunchbull. Like that was silly. And the last thing I wanted to touch on that you made me forget. What the hell was I just going to say? Oh, her friendship with Lavender in the original one was like a main thing, and she rarely had a friendship in this. She got along with the students, but that wasn't what I was going to say. But anyway, so that's all the stuff I could nitpick about. Now, the thing that I really did like about this was the music. I thought that the songs were really intricate, and they were really interesting, and they like tingled my ear in a certain way. You know what I mean? They were really mouth wordy. They were like I liked all that, and I thought that the actors did a really great job of singing it clearly, and like it was with intention, and like I could understand what they were saying, even though it was like 50 words in a 20-word space. I think it was the second song. Now we watched this a couple of days ago, so I forget what order it was in.
I think
it was the second song.
Not just dun 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 dun. That's the one they play the most, where she's it's like she's small, but like don't tell me I can't do things because I'm small. Like that's a big thing in the first one too.
Yeah, that was good. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. I was getting really pissed off that they kept calling it Chokey and not the Chokey. Like it's an object. and not a place. And I didn't like how they changed it into the swamp place. That's not what it is.
Well, in the middle of the swamp was the OG Choki, which is like a stall. It's like a bathroom stall with a bunch of shit in it that like pokes you.
I don't know. There was some stuff that maybe it was called Naughty.
That's the main song in it. The Naughty is the okay. I'm pretty sure that's that one.
Yeah, I liked the music for the most part.
Okay, so it was mostly there were some nitpicks, but some positive things as well. I had never seen the first one, and I comparing the two one after the other. I think they're both pretty good. Like they're both fine. Like I enjoyed them both. They're different, and the big differences are the character in the original one is much more a kid from that era of movies where they had much less agency and they leaned a lot more into like she can move stuff around with her mind. Isn't that cool? Whereas this one, she's a much more the kid is like an adult character. Like she has agency and she tells big stories and she has adults on like the edge of the seat. That the good adults, the book woman and Mrs. Honey or Miss Honey. So she's more of like a character. She's more character-y in this one, and like more like modern day female protagonist than the original girl. And then another big thing is the relationships. This new one, is a lot more about Miss Honey than the other one. The other one, Miss Honey, is just like a nice person who's like there. But this one, Miss Honey, is like she has a whole big backstory, and she's a very important character by the end. Like it's almost like Matilda is supposed to be it's almost like they're supposed to be like two of the same person. Like Matilda's an active younger version of Miss Honey who has to rebel against Trunchbull like she didn't. And that's the one thing that is consistent in both is I think the Trunchbull character and performance works in both movies very well. I enjoy this. This is not from my memory. Like I remember. Because remember, I'm conflating this and Madeline in my head. So in my memory, it was her grabbing Madeline by her head and throwing her. And so, like, doesn't make any sense because it's not the same story. But so I have the wrong pop culture.
No, they still tried to bring that part into it. She did throw the pigtail girl over the fence, but even I was just looking it up briefly, and I don't think anything can compare to the first one. In the terms of the characters all working together well. I felt disconnect from the parents a lot in this, and they're a really important part of the movie. Like, they're the reason that she wants to go to school and escape the, how cruel they are to her. And
they're totally separate in this movie. They're completely
they didn't even know that she, they didn't even know she had to go to school or whatever. It was different, and they were really separate from the rest of the story in this, and they popped up like every now and then, and I just didn't think that was as intent. Like, the intent wasn't there as much as it was in the first one to have them play such a role.
Yeah, the parents are completely. They're completely different types of character. Like they're both bad people, but they're different types of bad. The original one, it's Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman, and they're like a smarmy, like he's literally like a bad used car salesman. She's at bingo all day, and they're like that kind of trashy character. These characters are like they're also gaudy, but they're much more. And I'll go back to the Charlie Chocolate Factory example, Tim Burton-y gaudy. Like they're very like they seem like this seems like a Tim Burton-y type style of home they're living in and all their over-the-top dress.
Over-pronounced or something. Yeah, like
over-stylized.
Extended.
The original one, other than like the stuff floating and like she throws children and like Bruce eats the entire cake, like there's things in that one that are fantastical, but they could be from like a kid's eyes, where this one is like, it's not from a kid's eyes. Like this world is like a fantastical world they live in. And so they lean more into that.
So, what do you think about the acting in the musical?
Everyone's good. These are actors I recognize, like Lashana Lynch's Miss Honey. She's never this kind of character. She's always in like Double O. She's in 007. She's in what else is she in? She's in Woman King. Like she's an ass kicker in movies. And in this, she's extremely meek and she has to be quiet and like timid and stuttering. And I was shocked at like how. And she's an intimidating presence in those other movies. So in this, where she has to be a wallflower, I think is like she was the standout performance for me. Was Miss Honey. Emma Thompson gets to put on makeup and be a ham. So fun for her. That's fun for her to be the Trunchbull character. And then the parents are both character actors I recognize from other things that were, I like their shtick in this. It's just different from the original.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anything will compare to the original cast. Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman together is just so fucking good. I feel like they just act like that at home together.
That's you growing up, like in your sensibilities, like that makes sense too. Like if I saw this when I was 10, I don't know if it would have had the same exact effect on me, but like it makes more sense for like how you grew up that those characters would latch on.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but
they seem like East Coast scummy people, and you lived on the East Coast where they were just like these
wow.
types.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, I just think that the acting is better from Danny DeVito and Ray Perlman. And I like that they played a role together. I think that's fun. They probably had a good time doing that. But I think that his character of the dad, who's really just all about making a buck and just thinks that his daughter is costing him so much money and time and effort, and he doesn't want to put any into it, that she's just a nuisance to him. Meanwhile, he's just trying to make $200 on the shitty car. Like, that's what you can feel that from the original, and you don't get that from the new dad. They don't really show why he's such a sleaze. It's like little things, like, okay, he's got the slick back greasy hair. I just don't think they put as much emphasis, and like I said earlier, I think that's important to the movie to see why does Matilda hate her life at home so much. It's because these parents suck really badly. And
the emphasis
the
emphasis is different. In the original one, the emphasis is Matilda's growing up with these parents, and you're right, the dad in that one is a big character, where in this one he's small. And like that one, Miss Honey is a smaller character, where in this one Miss Honey is like almost a second, like a 1B character. And that's another thing that's not in the original one we haven't talked about, is the escapologist and the acrobat story, where Matilda...
Well, hold on, I'm not ready for that yet.
Okay, well,
I want to ask you what you think about Matilda. You didn't even talk about Matilda.
The actor in the two, or in this
Both,
one,
yeah.
I mean, she's a good kid actor. I don't know. She not particular. She wasn't like special, but she wasn't gratingly bad. I have a pretty tough great gauge with kid actors. I think they're mostly bad, and when they stand out, like Quvenzhané Wallis in Beast of the Southern Wild, like when a kid actor stands out, I remember it. And this kid was fine. She was a good 10-year-old. Well, I don't know how old kids are.
Yeah, I mean, I always think about Mara Wilson, and like she's done so much to try to become her own woman and not be known as Matilda, as she's almost...
Maybe it'll be a hot take then. I think Alicia Weir is better than the original actress. What's her name?
Mara Wilson.
Mara Wilson, yeah. Sorry.
She does a lot of work to try to separate herself, I think, from that, just to be, I think she does a lot of activist work and stuff. And she's also always on Twitter bashing some people, and I really like that. But I think that, yeah, you're right. It is more of a muted, subdued character in the beginning, in the first one.
Yeah.
And the second one, she's rambunctious and like makes her own path, and she's not afraid to stand up for herself. I like that approach, but I think she needs to pick up more weight in the second one. She is the main character, and like everyone else needs to work around her. That's how I felt about it.
In the new one, she is, and it's the big difference between a lot of movies now and a lot of movies and back then, is that back then a kid was just a kid in a movie, even if they were the main character, we still had to do all the scenes and the talking with the parents. And like in the first one, I bet if you look at Matilda's lines in the first one versus this one, she probably triples her lines in this one. Because in the first one, she's in the room and observing the adults interact, the parents or Miss Trunchbull and Miss Honey. But in this one, she's driving the story. She's telling the story to Miss Phelps, the book lady, and she's the one who's driving the action with the school rebellion. That's another the whole theming when it goes back to like who's in this one more, what's everything happening. The original one's about like a little girl like learning that her parents are mean and bad people and that she doesn't have to be that way. And there is a I'm big, you're small, I'm right, you're wrong. That's the whole big thing in that one. And this one they do a much more modern thing, which is to make it about something bigger, more messagey. It's Trunchbull's thing. It's made to look like a concentration camp because it's supposed to be like an authoritarian kind of regime, and the people in the hall, the prefects in the halls, are like like Nazi guards. Like they're going for more big message, whereas the original one is just like more. You'll find out your dad sells junk cars. It's just a different scale they're working with here.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like you prefer the simpler story.
I do.
But the music.
I mean, yeah, I really like the music in this. I think all the kids did a good job in the scenes where it was all the kids singing. I liked all that. I also think that one of the big differences, I'll say discrepancies, is I think it has to do with the amount of work that they gave Miss Honey. The big twist at the almost end, where we learn that she is by marriage related to Miss Trunchbull, and just heard how devilish Miss Trunchbull is even in personal life. I like the original one better. I think it had more effort put into it. I think this one kind of, like they were running out of time or something, or running out of money, and they had to just make it real quick. It didn't catch my interest as much as the rest.
Well, this one, the Miss Honey, because in both of them they have the Miss Honey reveal that Miss Honey grew up under Trunchbull because her parents, the mom dies and the dad disappears but is likely murdered by Trunchbull. That's in both stories. In this one, there's a whole backstory with the escapologist and the acrobat, who are two characters that Matilda makes up in a story that she's telling Mrs. Phelps that is supposed to partially mirror her own life, and there's a Trunchbull stand-in character. And then 2/3 of the way into the movie, you find out that that story she's been telling is Miss Honey's story. Like her parents were those two people, and Trunchbull's their thing, and it's all revealed. And then you're like, oh, it's another one of Matilda's powers. It's like she has like a psychic connection thing. And to me, that's kind of like, after this, watching it the first time, I was like, oh, that's weird, but okay. And then when I watched the original one, I'm like, oh, they didn't have the escapologist and the acrobat in it at all, because that just wasn't part of the first one at all. The first movie. And I looked at the book. Yeah. The book also didn't have that in it exactly. The book is actually a little different than both movies, but this is specific to the movie. This movie.
Yeah, I'm not really into that.
No, you don't like them tweaking the source?
No, I mean, I like the connection between her and the librarian. I thought that was sweet. It just gave her an outlet, somebody that cared about her. So I did like that. I'm pretty sure there's a librarian in the first one, too.
There is.
Right?
She's more of like an old school library. Matilda goes to a big, like, austere library in like a city. There's her like walking through the streetlights with her little wagon full of books, and it's like an old. It's like a stereotypical old lady librarian. Where in this one, it's a young Indian woman.
Yeah, I like the connection on this one more. Obviously, I don't remember the librarian that much in the first one. But I guess I accept the outlet, but I guess that does bring it into more of like, okay, how are these two so connected that she knows her story? She's psychic more so than we thought, but they didn't really touch on that much.
Right.
And they only had her do the telekinesis thing like a couple times, and it didn't really make that big of a deal.
They remade this story kind of like, and I complained about this movie, but you didn't see it. I saw it with Jess. It was A Wrinkle in Time. This felt very Wrinkle in Time, but like not terrible, because Wrinkle in Time it's not a musical, but it's the same like young YA fantasy based off an older property, and then a lot of the elements of this are in that. It looks kind of similar, and that movie just blows. Whereas this one, at least, I don't know, there's some life in this one. I actually liked most of the performances. We haven't really talked about Trunchbull at all in both. I mean, I think she's great in both. Both actresses are solid. Do you disagree?
I do, actually. I didn't like Miss Trunchbull in this one at all.
Why didn't you like the Emma Thompson version?
It just wasn't the same as the first one.
Well, of course it wasn't the same. You have to if you're going to remake something. So good. It is. The first one is good. I like that version of Miss Trunchbull, but they both have their charms.
I mean, they missed some of the key. I'm telling you, they missed some of the key things that make you think of it, like. The lines, like when he's eating the chocolate cake and she's like, "Chocolate's much too good for children." I say that all the time.
But do you want Emma Thompson to say that exact same thing in this movie? And like,
yes,
but she'll say it slightly worse than the original, probably.
I feel like it would be better than not having it in there at all, because that's just her asserting her power over them. But it was just such a weird way this time. I don't know. I didn't really like her in it.
There was a big
didn't like that.
A big, because they do copy a lot of the scenes, like scene for scene, like the throwing of the kid, like the Bruce eating the chocolate cake, and one that you pointed out, the newt. Yeah, I don't love that sequence. I don't know what it is. That's
they
the
didn't
part
do
of the
it
movie
right in this one. That's why
I didn't love it in either. Honestly, I mean they're both like.
Well, they had to show some sort of a humanism to her, you know.
I guess I kind of schlep after. I like the first half, and I like the Bruce up through the Bruce scene, and then the newt, and then I'm like, I don't know, and then I kind of lose it a little bit before we get back to the end when there's the showdown with the chains rattling and the chalkboard and the ghost. That's another thing that's very strange. Is just Trunchbull thinks the ghost of the escapologist is haunting her because Matilda's using like her psychic powers to move stuff around and write on the chalkboard. I guess because she's writing that she knows, or he knows she killed him.
The first one's so much better because they have the painting moving around and she's like relaxing at home. And
well, the first one's better because there's a lot. The first one's a lot more gags of like, it's a lot more like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where there's like shit running around and like there's like little house gags and stuff. Where this one is, it's Tim Burton going back to all those other examples. I was getting close to that. In this one, so in both of them, she goes to live with Miss Honey at the end because the parents have to flee to wherever they got to flee. In this one, it's Spain. In the original one, I think they flee to like the Cayman Islands or something because Dad's a crook. And in the original one, she has a tearful goodbye with the mom. Like the mom regrets being such a dick. And in this one, the dad regrets being such a dick. Not exactly, but like a little bit. And then she lives with Miss Honey. And Trunchbull runs away because she's afraid of the ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very strange story. I'm surprised this is so beloved and popular. Because the first one is, I mean, I've been to the Rotten Tomato scores. They're both in the 90s, this one and the original. They all have 7s in IMDb and Metacritic, both of them. Like, they're both similarly reviewed movies. And the original one is, like, kind of cult classic-y. I know a lot of people our age who love that movie. I gotta say, I don't really get it, though. Like, I like both these movies, but the story is not connected with me that much. It's a fine YA story.
I guess the question to me is, do you think that it was right to make this into a musical? Did it warrant that?
I think this is quality, and if you like musicals, it's good. So I would say, yeah, I would say it's worth it because it's not bad. It doesn't make the original feel worse. They're different enough, and the music's goodness. I think that's what we both have said we both liked. Maybe I haven't said this much. I like the music in this. It's enjoyable. That one little song, the beat gets stuck in your head, but it's not like you're singing along with it because obviously I don't remember the words, but I remember the beat. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it's a worthwhile experience. I like it. I guess I'm saying at the end, I recommend Matilda the Musical if we're kind of at the end here. Do you recommend Matilda the Musical?
Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
I would recommend watching the other one first and then watching this so you can see that the first one's better, but...
What's the first one? Out of 5? Is it a 5 out of 5 like you love it, or is it like a 4, 4.5?
It's one of those 5 movies. I have a couple of them.
Yeah, it's
I could watch it anytime it's on.
like a Jumanji or Meet the Robinsons.
Yeah.
And then this one's what, like a 3-star movie?
Yeah, I would give it that.
Yeah, I might go 3.5 for like both of them. That's kind of what I would land at. I think they're both above average whimsical YA movies. But yeah, I don't know. They're not. They're just kind of. There's just not a lot of extra stuff. Usually, there's like a whole. If there's a YA thing, there's like a whole world they've built, like a Harry Potter and a Percy Jackson, Lord of the Rings, and I guess not YA, but you know what I mean. Like they built this whole fantasy world nowadays with things, and this just felt small scale. I mean, she runs away because she's the villain runs away because the ghost is writing on the chalkboard, and in both versions, it's very. How quaint, I guess. All right. Well, 2 recommends for Matilda the Musical. And we have, what do we got coming up? We got Barbarian, that's coming soon. And then we're trying to get some more 2023 movies. Not much is out yet, but we're going to keep catching up on 2022's. Oscars will be coming. We'll be talking about that stuff probably at some point. The Instagram tournament is going on right now, though. That's a big thing. It's up on my Instagram at Brennan.
Team Nicole is in the lead, as usual.
As of this recording. Maybe not by the time it's out, but... yes, at Brennan_podhost to vote on the movie of 2022. We have the top 32 movies as drafted by us, and I don't know, there's probably about half of them left at the time you're hearing this, so go on there and vote. There's a match every day, Monday through Friday, and if you want to reach out to us with questions, suggestions, listener suggestions, we take them, we do that. Films with the Women in My Life on Facebook, or you can email the show at filmswiththewomen@gmail.com. All right. Thank you for being on, Nicole, for Matilda the Musical.
Okay. Thanks for indulging me.
Oh, yeah. I want to do more of the other hosts picking stuff this year because, it doesn't need to always be my stuff. Yours is one of the more successful ones. The other 2 we did for Jess and Mama Kay, and that is not as successful. This is the best one so far, so we'll keep it going.
Oof. That's not good.
Till next time, this is Brendan signing out saying thanks for listening and enjoy your movies.
Thanks for listening to Films with the Women in My Life. If you enjoyed being a listener in our life, please rate and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. Keep up with the latest from the show on Instagram at Brennan_podhost, on Facebook at Films with the Women in My Life, and on Twitter at FilmsWomenPod. Finally, you can email the show with questions and suggestions at filmswiththewomen@gmail.com. Original music for the show was created by Ian Burke and Chris Iwanek. Original artwork created by Nicole D'Alessio. This show is produced by Brennan Snyder. Thank you again for listening and enjoy your movies.